glossary of the front stuff, which is really helpful. Or I mean, it's for anybody, like do you have to do a lot of research for your book?
So for this one, yes.
Yeah.
So Sloan, Paisley, and I, we each wrote one book in this series. And originally, so I actually came up with this idea back in, like March or April of this past year. And we slowly started working on it together, and we finally decided that, okay, we're gonna write it on Hot Shots, which is wildland firefighters. We have so much research done for this series. We actually have a hotshot connection. He was phenomenal. He answered all of our absolutely insane questions at all times of the day. He was perfect. He answered everything that we had. He sent us, pictures. He sent us links for, all the different fires that he has been on, what their spike camps look like, which is where they sleep. They sleep, I mean, half the time they're just on the ground. So there was a lot of research that we did, and we actually sent all of our fire scenes, anything that we had that had to do with hotshot firefighting in the books, we sent our scenes to him, and he would come back with us and he would say, like, this is perfect, this, you guys got this great, or this really doesn't work. So he was phenomenal to work with. I would suggest finding those kinds of contacts to do your research for it. It was great.
Anyone else? Questions? Yes.
This is specifically for Wren. I just started your series. Who is your favorite character and why?
That's so hard. That's like asking me who my favorite kid is. Right now? Yeah. But for me, I struggle with, it's usually like the last ones I wrote. Because they're like the most recent, the most fresh, like you spend so much time with them. That right now it would be Stevie and Bran, just because they are both wild cards and like have that hair trigger temper that we all kind of struggle with, and they just kind of embrace it in each other instead of like being like, dude, chill out. They're like, no, go. Like, yeah, they're very much supportive of each other instead of like trying to change each other. They're just like, no, like burn some of it off. You gotta, or you're gonna blow up. Like, so those two right now. But then I don't remember who said earlier that like, well, your original characters, like they just have a special spot in your heart. Like, so to get to keep updating them through all of the books, I'd say that they're probably my favorite because they've been in every single book. Like, we just keep going back.
Danielle, what was the struggles and things that you liked about writing with the same, connection series with two different authors?
That is a great question. So like I said, we started this process back in March or April of last year. We spent a lot of time talking. We have a group chat on Instagram. We talked daily. We have a Google Doc that was all of, like, anything that had to do with anything. We put it in there. Our plot lines, our timelines, like character personalities. We had literally everything listed in this document so that we could go back and reference it. And there was a lot of times it's like, okay, I have this scene that I have just done, but I don't know if it's gonna fit for Scotty and Cal. Does this work? And she'd come back with, yes, this works. Or, gosh, there's like, in our beta reads, my character, my FMC, she goes through a big life change throughout the 3 books. So making sure that we had her personality synced through all 3, through all of those different stages that she was going through was really difficult. But working with Sloan and Paisley was the most fun that I've ever had. I would love to do it again. They were fantastic to work with. Probably safe to say my best friends right now. Like, we talk all the time. So yeah, it was really difficult, but a lot of fun at the same time.
Any more questions?
I want to know, who is all of your favorite love interests that you've written, and what was like the formula for coming up with that? Okay. Who is like your favorite hot guy that you've written?
That's like asking your
I think it's good. How about this, like, how do you come up with, you know, love interests that are like desirable, that have their own backstory?
Again, I always start with the wounds to figure out who they are. I write cinnamon roll heroes. If you're not familiar with that term, just think of green flags instead of red flags. You know, they know how to talk about their feelings. They've got, I think of them as adults type of thing. So, I mean, right off the bat, to me, that's hot. So, and I just go and work from there.
I like to make everything you like to see. Like when you're scrolling through TikTok and stuff, and you're like, oh, that's the next one. Like in Rough Rides, he's got tattoos, he drives a Harley, and he's a volunteer firefighter. Like, I have a friend that like I bounce everything off of as I'm like world building and everything, and I'm like, is it too much if he plays guitar too? Like, I think it could make him a complete package. And she's like, nah, save that for number 4. It's too much. I feel like I don't start with how they look at first. I'm always like for example, this next series is Small Town, and the second book came to me first, and it was because I saw a picture of a polar bear, and I was like, I want something with polar bears in it. And so speaking of research, it's going to take place in Svalbard, Norway, and so I know the guy has to be a grumpy B&B owner, obviously that's really small, and he's going to be a polar bear guide. So that's like my starting point, or like Will in my next book, I'm like, I want a record store owner because that sounds real hot. And then I'm like, well, what do they look like? And I'm like, okay, well, tattoos and dark hair. So like the looks come last, but I feel like first is like the job and personalities and characteristics first.
I actually do have a favorite of mine. It's Luca in Designated Hitter, which comes out in March. And a lot like what DK said, with him, the focus at first was what makes him tick and what are those like sort of emotional wounds and how can I poke them throughout the story to really kind of give him a happy ending that feels like it's been earned. But he actually came about when I was watching Top Gun Maverick. If you've seen it, I texted my best friend, what if Hangman were a baseball player? And so when we first meet him in Perfect Game, he's this very arrogant, he thinks he's like better than his teammates. He's this big, larger than life personality. And then by the time we get to his book, those rough edges have been softened and those emotional wounds have been poked quite a bit, and he works his way toward that happy ending.
I love that. That's perfect. So currently my favorite is Xander. Little piece of myself, I have recently gone through a divorce, so I wanted to write what I wanted. I wanted a man that was going to be kind and be generous and treat me with the respect that I deserve. And so that's kind of how Xander came to be. I was living vicariously through him. So yeah, he is currently my favorite, but before him, I would say probably Travis in When Hearts Collide in my Petoskey Stone series. I love him. He's this gruff former MMA fighter with a really dirty past, and yeah, he's just a big old softie for his Roxy. But other than that, yes, yeah, Xander is my favorite.
100%. Similar to what you said, it's probably like the one I'm either currently writing or researching.
Yeah. All right, my next question is, what inspires your art?
Music, definitely music. I've come up with whole books from one song, and people watching. I love to people watch, that combination.
I agree with like songs. Like I've based entire conversations in my books about like one line in a song, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like there's a part in Rough Holds where they're talking about just like the struggles, and he's like, come hell or high water, and she's like, well, which is this, the hell or the high water? And it was literally like a song I had heard. I was like, oh, that's so, like, I like that dynamic of that. And it just, I guess, a little bit of everything. Like, it's hard to say just one spot. Like, there's just constant flow of stuff up here. It's hard to keep it straight.
I'd say for me, my dedication for my first book is, I'm just gonna look up. I like knew it and then I just lost my train of thought. It says, for those that haven't found their thing, it's never too late. So I didn't want to be an author as a kid. I never wrote fan fiction or anything like that. I was feeling really lost in life. I'm a mother of 2 young kids, and so I feel like what inspires my art is just like the chasing of dreams. And so all of my characters are always chasing a dream. They both have their own separate dream. It's not that the FMC forgets what she wants to do and just, goes with whatever the male is doing at the end of the day. So I feel like just remembering that this is a dream and it's like, it's never too late for someone to do something new. That just really helps me with my art.
Real life in a big way for me. My first main character,